So I bought a boat. I don't really know why. Best guess at the moment, bit of a midlife crisis. But I don't like motorcycles, they scare me. And I fancied something new. I don't know how to sail, don't really know a huge amount about the practicalities of repairing and fitting out boats. Got some experience in converting a camper van, but as far as I can tell, I think I've been on the water in a sailboat once, and it was about 34 years ago. So hopefully over the course of the next year or so, I'll be doing up the boat, getting it back into a decent condition, and learning how to sail. And just in case it's of interest to people, I thought I'd try and document bits of the journey. I'm not a filmmaker by any means. I've just done a long piece to camera and then the phone shut off because I hadn't actually pressed record. But hopefully I can piece bits together to tell a story along the way. I'll show you around the boat in a mo. It's a SeaWych 19, which is probably slightly older than I am. I think it's a very early sail number, SW16, which I think means it came off the production line in about 1974. And they were kit boats. You bought them from the company. You went down, you collected it on a trailer. It was in its constituent parts, the keel, the hull and the cabin, and had all the fixtures and fittings and the ballast and everything that you needed to get going. And according to the instructions, you could build it yourself at home over the course of 10 or so weeks. But the key thing about it is that it's fiberglass. Most boats from the sort of late 60s onwards are fiberglass. And it might look mucky, and as you will see, it does look pretty mucky. But underneath it, structurally, it appears to be pretty sound. There's only one thing that I can see that might be a problem, and I'm not even sure if it is at this stage, which is the ballast in the keel might have rusted. But other than that, it is pretty much all decorative. There's one or two bits of metalwork required. One of the spreaders has come off, but as far as I can tell, at this stage, it's in relatively decent condition, and with a bit of time, a bit of patience, can hopefully be turned from what it is at the moment, which is a pretty empty shell, back into something that can go back on the water, restored to its former glory. Because it's a classic piece of British sailing history. They're not the world's most glamorous boats. They're twin-keelers, so they're not the world's fastest boats. They're not the world's biggest boats. But it is a part of British seafaring history, and as I've found since I bought one, they do have some very big fans. There are people who love their SeaWiches, and I suspect that weirdly I might be on my way to becoming one of those people. Well, I guess we'll start at the back. I'm kind of in the middle of clearing out rubbish from it, taking off stuff that I need out of the way, and then the plan is to strip all of the deck fittings off, see what needs to be renewed, see what needs to be tarted up, and see what needs to be put back where. So we're in the cabin at the back at the moment. The tiller's off, the rudder's off, and the block that the rudder attaches to came off about 10 minutes ago. That's lying over there somewhere. Struggling to get that off, which I think is the outboard stand. And there's a big pile of stuff. The old rubbing strake is down there. We've got the boom and one of the two keel shoes. The other one, weirdly, is actually on the keel. It's a relatively simple layout, as we will see. We've got the cabin, the locker tops are currently in the garage. They're in relatively decent condition, so should be able to be tidied up and put back on. The cabin drains are completely blocked and are not. Do you know what, I've just figured out if I do that it's going to be upside down, isn't it? I told you I wasn't a filmmaker. So those will need replacing. There's various little sort of electronics fittings and sort of switches that have been taken out over the years. And then looking forward, we've got the sliding hatch. Sorry if it's a bit of a bumpy video, but it's the boat's still bouncing around a little bit. Sliding hatch is in good working order. I think the wooden hatch itself is probably not an original and can be replaced with something a little bit more practical. Then going in, we've got a sink, which, yeah, is a little bit mucky. And then we've got desk kind of, I don't know what you do there really, cooking, storage, batteries, whatever it may be, on either side. All of the locker tops that aren't in the boat itself are currently in the garage, and most of those, again, A, look original, and B, are in pretty decent nick. One or two of them need to be replaced, but broadly speaking, it's not a big job and it's not an expensive job. The key thing is that I've got the originals. For example, these bulkheads, a bit rotten down the bottom, but they will, if they come out, I've got the originals, so I can use those as a template to take them out. To cut new ones. What else have we got? So these are, if I make my way unsteadily down into the cabin, it's probably worth pointing out that I'm 6'2" and this cabin very much isn't, but that's okay. I knew it when I bought it. So there's quarter berths on either side, which I think are 6'8". I haven't actually dared to lie down and measure them, but they're relatively decent length. There's storage there with the bilge below, and again, same on this side. 3 more bits of storage there, and that sort of middle square there is for a toilet, which is something we'll have to consider. The windows are pretty buggered, to be honest, but again, not the world's biggest job. It's perspex, it's not glass, so that's not a major problem. There's a little anchor chain locker thing at the end, and that wooden thing is a mushroom vent up on the top, which I may, for the purposes of improving ventilation, I may swap out to a hatch of some kind, or maybe put a hatch in the front there between those 2 windows. And then moving back around to the front, under this sink there is a long storage area to the front, to the cockpit, and you can just maybe make out that some of the wood is all a bit scraggy, but overall I know it looks a bit grotty, but that yellow gunk is just old glue residue, and the paint that's on there comes off if you look at it harshly, so shouldn't really pose too many problems in taking it back to a surface that can then be painted and tidied up a bit. There's an awful lot here that basically a load of cleaning solution and water can't fix. It's not as bad as it might look from first sight, I guess. At least I hope so. If we go back out carefully, in a move worthy of Steven Spielberg, the guardrail things, I'm pretty certain they got a name. They're intact. The mast is over by my garage at the moment, and it looks in fairly decent nick. And then there is an anchor. Again, that too is over by my garage. And in a mo, we'll have a look round from ground level. So here she is in all her glory and in the dying evening sun. SW16, SeaWych 16, Crest for wave. Twin keeler. Now, the problem I hinted at earlier is the staining that you can see here, and there's a hole in there and I'm not quite sure how far it goes. Now, the reason I'm not massively concerned is that there's no apparent swelling inside the keels. So it's it's stainless steel ballast originally, but after 50 years that will have rusted, and water will have got in at some stage. So the question is whether it's been fixed or not. Now, I'm not going to trust really anything on this boat. We'll talk about the trailer in a bit, but I have absolutely no knowledge of when it was last in the water, any safety certificates or anything. So I'm going to assume from a safety perspective that she is basically buggered, and see what we can do to make sure she's as safe as possible. And there she is.